So we are now talking about the function of an ecosystem, right? The function of an ecosystem is basically talking about how energy is traveling throughout the ecosystem and how nutrients also travel through the ecosystem. We have studied about the food chain, isn't it? The food chain is composed of the series of organisms which eat one another, and there is a flow of energy from one trophic level to the next. Then we talked about the grazing food chain. The grazing food chain is composed of, it starts with the primary producers, which are the green plants, whereas the detritus food chain starts with the dead organic matter, which is called as the detritus. So, we are going to talk about the food web now. The food web is an interconnected system of food chains. Okay, when you have different food chains, it forms the food web. Okay, so look at this diagram here. You have the decomposer, it is connected to the nutrients, and then the green plants are eaten up by the mouse is eaten up by the snake, and the hawk, the snake is eaten up by the hawk. The snake is not only eaten up by the hawk, but in this other food chain you see nutrients, plants and grass is eaten up by the grasshopper is eaten up by the frog is eaten up by the snake. So you see here the snake not only eats mice but frogs as well. And then the bird also not only eats, the grasshopper is eaten up by bird the bird is eaten up by the hawk. So what is the significance of having the food chain? Why do we need to have a food web? Why don't we have just one linear chain, or one chain which will start from one trophic level to the end? Why? Because it provides great stability to the ecosystem. As you know, suppose now if we remove one of these animals, if we remove the mouse, suppose if the snake does not eat anything but the mouse, then the snake's population will be affected very deeply. It will not be able to survive. But since it is connected to, or it has a variety of alternative foods like the frog, okay, it can survive on the frog population. So that is why we need to have a interconnected chain. Okay, and you know these the food web is, what is the significance of the food chain and the food web? If we look at the food chain and the food web, it depends upon, it plays a very important role in flow of energy number one, and flow of nutrients number two. Okay, what is the role of the food web? The food web is mainly for the flow of energy and the flow of nutrients. So the food chain helps to maintain ecological balance. Okay, and not only that, the food chain also shows a very unique property which is known as biological magnification. What is this biological magnification? Suppose now if you have one piece of one river which flows in the one there is one river, okay, and that river, it flows in such a way that it flows towards the industry, and the industries, they excrete or they give out toxic chemicals or heavy metals. Now these heavy metals are then taken up by the green plants. So in green plants there is small concentration of the heavy metals, but what happens is that, suppose now if the mouse eats these green plants, there will be higher concentration of that toxic chemical, isn't it? And then when the snake consumes the mice, it will have a higher concentration of that chemical. So there is a very important, there is a need to know these food webs and the interconnected chains, so that we can study how much of these toxic chemicals, or these, we call them as heavy metals, how much they have accumulated from one trophic level to the next. Okay, so now we're going to talk about another important topic, that is called as the it is also a part, it is also a functional attribute of um, so ecological pyramids are these representation or a graphical representation of the trophic structure and functions of the ecosystem. Okay, it shows how energy is being transferred from one part or one organism to the next, and also it also shows us the quantity of these organisms, how much they affect each other. So this pyramid, from the bottom at the base, it we have the producers, and then with each increase in, as we go up the pyramid, there are consumers, and yes, consumers, you have the primary consumers, which consists of the herbivores, and then the secondary consumers, which consists of the omnivores or the carnivores, and then the tertiary consumers, which consists of the predators or the carnivores, which are completely carnivores. So do you know who gave us the ecological pyramids? It is a man named by whose name was Charles Elton, and he gave this ecological pyramid in the year 1927. Okay, so this pyramid is also known as the Eltonian pyramids. Okay, and the pyramid of numbers, you have the first type of pyramid. We're going to study the first type of pyramid, which is called as the pyramid of uh, so we have three types of pyramids. Okay, the first type is the pyramid of energy, the second type is the pyramid of biomass, the third type is the pyramid of numbers. So take a look at the first type, the pyramid of energy. In this pyramid of energy, you have the flow of energy from one trophic level to the next, and the primary consumers, they convert how much of the energy from the sun? Only 1%. That is very less, right? Only 1% of the energy from the sun is being converted to chemical energy. And then what happens? 90% of the energy produced by the organism, or used 90% of the energy is going to be used up by the organism for itself. Okay, and only 10% of the energy will be given out or passed on to the next and trophic level. Okay, so there is so much energy required to maintain an organism. Okay, so let us take a look here. First of all, you have the sun. The sun is the primary source of energy, and from the sunlight you have, can you see here, there is a lot of energy in the form of joules, around once 10,000 10,000 lakh, around this 110 lakh joules of sunlight. Only 1% of this is being converted or being absorbed by the primary producers. And then the primary producers give out only 10% of this. So only 10% is given out to the next trophic level, which is the herbivores, and then 10% from here is given out to the secondary consumer, and last, the tertiary consumer gets only 10 joules. So in this pyramid of energy, please remember, girls, that you cannot invert, or you cannot change the system. It's going to be always that the energy will decrease as you go from one trophic level to the next. Okay, so this energy is usually expressed in the form of, let me write it down, it is usually expressed in the form of kilojoules per meter square per year. Okay, that is the unit of expressing the energy. And there is always a decline of energy as you go from one tropic level to the other. Remember how much percent of energy is being transferred? Only 10% is being transferred from one trophic level to the next. Now we are going to go to the the next type of pyramid. The next pyramid that you're going to study is the pyramid of biomass. What is the pyramid of biomass? So this one, it shows the quantitative relationship. Okay, it is based on the total biomass or the total dry weight of the living tissue at each trophic level. That means in each trophic level you're going to have, what is dry weight, girls? Dry weight is nothing but the weight of an organism excluding the water weight, because our bodies are made up of 70% of water, right? And other organisms as well, they have a lot of water in them, so we exclude the water and we remove the water weight and measure only the dry weight. So the dry weight and that is taken up, and it is based upon the total biomass at each trophic level. So usually it can be inverted and it can be upright. Okay, so let us look at this look at this picture here. In this picture here you have a lot of trees, isn't it? So the trees have a very large biomass or a dry weight. The dry matter per unit area is very large at the base. Once the giraffes, of course the total giraffes in the world are quite less as compared to the total amount of trees, so the biomass decreases, you see, from one trophic to the next. And obviously there will be one lion in that particular ecosystem which who will dominate over those that area. So this lion has a very small biomass as compared to the population of giraffe. So always it is in this manner that the biomass, or the, you can say, the weight of these organisms from base, from the producers to the herbivores to the consumers, is in the upright manner where the pyramid is upright. But you can also have an inverted type of biomass pyramid. Sorry, the inverted type is like this. When you look in the inverted pyramid of biomass, you can see in pond ecosystem the total biomass of the producers here. You can see here these producers are nothing but the zooplankton and the phytoplanktons. It is not even zooplanktons, these are phytoplanktons. The biomass of these phytoplanktons is very less. Once it is, these phytoplanktons are then eaten up by the herbivores, which are the zooplanktons and the insects. The insects are then having a higher biomass as compared to the phytoplanktons, and the the herbivores are then eaten up by larger prey in the form of sharks. Okay, sharks and fishes. These are, whales are having a very large biomass as compared to the producers. So can you see that this pyramid is an inverted type of pyramid? Because we can remember that in biomass you can have two types of pyramids. There is an upright pyramid in terms of terrestrial ecosystem, but in aquatic ecosystem you can have an inverted biomass pyramid. Okay, then we go on to the next. Here they are showing you how it looks like, how the phytoplankton, this is a hypothetical biomass. Okay, and then we are going to look at the pyramid of numbers. This is the third type of pyramid. And the pyramid of numbers, it represents the number of individuals or organisms at each trophic level. And you can see it is not always a perfect pyramid. Okay, sometimes it doesn't even look like a pyramid. So you know, the grassland in grassland and pond ecosystem, you can see there will be a upright pyramid. So let us take a look at the here in this population. You can have few population of producers, which are the oak tree, and in the oak tree you have a lot of caterpillars. Okay, so the population of caterpillars is very large, but then the caterpillars are then uh, eaten up by the blackbirds, which are not so many, and the blackbird is then eaten up by the buzzard. Okay, so there's only one buzzard or one or few organisms which eat up the blackbirds or consume the blackbirds. So suppose now we consider these a grassland ecosystem. Okay, so in a grassland ecosystem, you can imagine the grass is a lot, no? So the in a grassland ecosystem, you have a lot of um, you can have a lot of uh, you have a lot of grass species. Okay, and the number of the grass species will be very much as compared to the herbivores, which are for example like rabbit and mice. And the rabbit and mice will be a lot more in number as compared to the snakes. The snakes are large, smaller, or not smaller but fewer in number, and the snakes are then eaten up by the hawk, which is only one or two in number. So that is the in grassland ecosystems, you have an upright, remember girls, in grassland ecosystem you have an upright type of pyramid of numbers. Okay, we have an upright, which means it stands up. But in pond ecosystem, like we showed you earlier, in the pond ecosystem you can see it is going to be a inverted type of pyramid of numbers as well. Okay, so there will be more, there will be so sorry girls, in pond ecosystem also you have a upright pyramid of numbers. Why? Because in pond ecosystem there's a lot of phytoplankton. The number of phytoplankton and the number of you can say the number of uh, phytoplankton is lot as compared to the herbivores, and obviously there will be fewer carnivores. So the pyramid of numbers in terms of pond ecosystem will not look like this. It will be an upright pyramid. Okay, so the pyramid of numbers also, it can look like this. This is a spindle shaped pyramid because it is narrow on both sides. You can have smaller populations of producers and tertiary tertiary consumers. They are smaller in or lesser in number, so it is broader in the middle. You can see in the middle it's larger. So this is a spindle shaped pyramid, okay, of numbers. But if you look at the pyramid of arthropods, or you can say ecological pyramids of parasitic food chain, look at this diagram here. In the pyramid of numbers in the parasitic food chain, it is inverted. Okay, how is it inverted in a parasitic food chain? the producers are very few. Suppose now you have trees. The trees, they harbor the fruit eating birds. Okay, the fruit eating birds act as the herbivores, which are larger in number, and these birds, they have a higher number of lice and bugs which grow as parasites on the birds. Okay, and then these bugs are then greater number of hyperparasites which are living on these um, uh, they are known as hyperparasites, such as the fleas, bugs, and microbes, which feed on these lice and bugs, are larger in number. So this is the inverted pyramid that you find in parasitic food chain for the pyramid of numbers. Okay, so note that the pyramid of numbers does not reflect the true picture of the food chain because it's not very functional. So it just shows you how many individuals are present in each trophic level. Okay, so with that I end this, and I will talk about the flow of energy in the next video. We are going to study about the flow of energy in the next video.